All right. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Hi. Hope you are all prioritizing your mental health, especially when we are about to approach the end of the year. I'm sending soft energies your way. My name is Faiza Lok, a member of the National Leadership Collective at Rise in Zanzi. And today we're diving into a topic that's very close to my heart. And it's part of our 16-day activism against GBV campaign at Rise Mzansi. For those who don't know what Rise Mzansi stands for and who we are, Rise Mzansi is a citizen-led, citizen-centered political movement. We are gearing up for the 2024 elections. We believe it's time for people to rise and build the South Africa we deserve. And our vision at Rise Mzansi is to build a safe, equal, prosperous, and united South Africa in a single generation. So that's in 25 years. So we believe that in someone's lifetime, they should be able to see this vision. And our vision, when we speak about safety, safety really means that Faiza feels that Faiza is safe enough to go walk alone in the streets at night or even during the day. And I don't have to send my live location to friends and family just to make sure that I am safe. That's the kind of world I want to live in. And that's what safety means to me. But we want to hear more from you on what safety means from you, because currently we are conducting a People's Manifesto consultation process. So we believe that in order for us to build the People's Manifesto, we need to consult and listen to people. What are the challenges, concerns, aspirations, and solutions you have? On the issues that you're facing, because you are the subject expert matter. And so we need to, in order for us to build this, what essentially the vision of South Africa, we need to take ownership and we need to co-create this together. So let me get straight into our topic today, which is this global pandemic, gender-based violence. Gender-based violence, it's not just an issue that affects women, it affects all genders and sexual orientation. It's a very real issue that Rise Mzansi, we talk about a lot, just because there's so many cases that and people reach out to us. So it's a very real issue that impacts not only the survivors, it impacts the economy, it impacts communities, and impacts families, and impacts our well-being. And so we at Rise Mzansi are really committed to having a conversation extending beyond just the issues, but we want to understand the root cause and the roles that government play, society play, and civil organization play in preventing and combating this issue. And this Thursday, we have an amazing lawyer and GBV activist, Kayan Leung, she will break down how austerity actually affects the support system towards combating this issue. Because when government have budget cuts, it does affect the social safety net and the support, the resources to supporting gender-based violence survivors. And so let me get straight into our next guest. I want to introduce you to an organization that I've been following for years. It's called Women for Change. Women for Change have really used a lot of innovative approach through social media initiatives and activities like the Run for Virtual Race. And they have a really powerful hashtag called Say Her Name. It's not just about creating awareness. It is also about making sure that they amplify the voices of the voiceless, and making sure that their stories of those who experience GBV firsthand are told. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our guest for today, Bulewa Tando Adonis. She is the spokesperson of Women for Change, a proud mental health awareness advocate, and a social justice activist. Welcome, Bulewa. Again.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for this platform. I think people underestimate such important conversations. So I'm so thankful that we have this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Bulewa. So let me dive straight into getting to know more about your organization. In this world where when we are silenced and when we see injustice and we don't talk about it, it can be quite deafening. And Women for Change, for me, it has really stand up, and really became a powerful force, in speaking up about this issue, because you guys have this belief that change really begins when voices unite against injustice. So I want to find out, from you, what really inspired you and your team to, create a Woman for Change, and how has it evolved over the years?
So in 2016, in Cape Town specifically, there was a murder of a 15-year-old girl. She was running in a very popular running spot, and unfortunately, she was murdered. And that provoked our founder to come to the conclusion that no, it's time to create awareness against gender-based violence and femicide. And in 2016, she founded Women for Change. And what had happened was, Women for Change organized like a memorial walk, in the same place where this teenager was murdered. And I think about 3,000 people showed up, because I think this, like you said, it doesn't impact the one individual who, I guess, experienced it. It impacts families, impacts the greater community, it impacts our economies and, the greater globe. I'm so thankful that you touched on the different factors that this global pandemic impacts. So I'm so thankful that you said that. And after that, we started doing runs in person. And then after 2020, obviously, COVID hit. And we came to the conclusion that no, it is mandatory that awareness continues, that let's decide to perceive social media as the tool that it is. And thankfully, um, in our case as an organization, it really, I guess, worked itself out, and we really made use of this tool called social media. And even our runs didn't stop; it just became virtual, like you mentioned just now about our virtual races. And yeah, I think it started as creating awareness for gender-based violence. Little did we know that we would become a platform that, one, is a safe haven for victims and survivors, and also we didn't realize that for 365 days, every single day of the year, we would be an organization that speaks up, that lets the community, well, that lets the world know that this is what is happening. So, and that has also become, like, we have become an organization that I guess, creates awareness of what, also, like, we highlight what's happening on the news. And also, if people are missing, people let us know. So we have become such a safe space. And, like, most importantly, like you emphasized so beautifully in the beginning, like, we've become a voice to the voiceless, or rather to those who feel like their voices are ignored or not heard. So yeah, that's who we are.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. You guys have done so many things over the years, making sure that people's stories are told, making sure that there's a safe space. You and your team have really become such action orientated, when it comes to, this issue. So, I want to just, talk a little bit about, your initiatives that you guys have been pushing. You guys have been really challenging, stigmas and social norms, and really took the issues, hand on, and forced every society, because I think it's not just South Africa. I know it's, a lot of the people and the survivors are in South Africa, but globally, the community see, Women for Change as an example of what a platform that advocates for this issue looks like. And so you guys really, force society, the global society, to confront really uncomfortable truths. So can you share very, very specific, campaigns or initiatives that you have ran, that have made a significant impact?
I don't think I can, like, pinpoint proper campaigns to be specific. I know that me and my founder were speaking about this, and campaign is not necessarily the favorite word, because to me, I understand that as, a certain period of time discussing or making awareness of something, when really for us it's like our daily job. It's a daily routine. It's an everyday thing. But I want to start off by making mention of the strategic manner in which we, I guess, approach the tool that is social media. I don't think for instance, our Instagram page, to reference our Instagram page, I don't think it's a comfortable profile. I don't think it's, you can stomach that, or feel like you can have the best day just scrolling through our page, because it's not nice to read, rest in peace. And then actually click into the post and actually read the caption of, this is the story, this is exactly what happened, because we are straightforward, we are raw, there's a brutal honesty that I guess is intimidating. There's an unapologeticness. I think that's the better term. That I know that it's a very delicate, a very sensitive topic. But unfortunately, looking at how it's been treated, looking at how our government treats it, looking at how, like for instance, being for us here in South Africa, being the rape capital of the world, and how we still have normalized rape culture, normalized victim blaming and all of that. And how, nobody really cares. We're not shaken and we go onto the news and we see things of, this person was murdered or this person was killed. We all of us, if we're being honest, it's just at the back of mind, we're like, oh, it happened again. I think there's not that shock factor has been eliminated to some extent because of how normalized it is. And I think our approach in just being bluntly honest and unapologetic, I think maybe that could be one of the initiatives or the approaches that we take. We don't wait for 16 days of activism. We understand that this is a 365-day event, pandemic, sorry. So we don't limit it to, we don't wait for a specific table to talk about this. We don't wait for a big platform to talk about this. We don't wait for a particular limelight. I know that particularly this time during 16 days of activism, I know that a lot of people are going to run to the limelight, are going to share this hashtag of 16 days of activism. And we're thankful for it. But honestly, we need to understand the bigger picture, that it far surpasses these 16 days, that this is an all year round pandemic. This is something that has been going on for decades. And it's like you said, it's not just here in South Africa. It's throughout the world. I think all different parts of the world, we can pinpoint a certain type of abuse of gender-based violence or femicide. And I think we're just unapologetic. We don't want to sugarcoat our reality anymore. Yes, I think that is the mindset that we're in. Our whole team, the mindset that we've played nice for a long time. We have been, patient and whatnot. But for us, it's just about calling a spade, essentially. This is what happened. This person was murdered. Because, I mean, looking at our country, looking at how perpetrators are protected, how our justice system protects perpetrators, we want to speak up. We understand and we feel and we sense the rage, and we feel it ourselves, the rage of the injustice. And, we are trying to use our rage for good, if that makes sense. So we have really made use of this tool called social media. And I think it's provoked a lot of people. It's aggravated some. It has given others, I guess, a feeling of safety, to know that they're not alone, to know that somebody's speaking on their behalf. But we don't take this lightly. We don't. So I can't pinpoint specific campaigns, to be specifically honest. We're very unapologetic, and we may not always be on the ground. Like we said, we have our virtual races and things like that. Unfortunately, we're limited, in person, because of lack of sponsorships and donations and stuff like that. But we're making use of what we have, which is social media, and I guess that's essentially how I can answer that question.
Yeah, and I love that you guys speak truth to power. I remember y'all were just calling out Becky Cele directly, that he's failing his job and he's not keeping the community safe, because often survivors go to the police and they get re-traumatized, and we need to hold them accountable. Who put systems, and there's not enough training, yada yada, actually be proactive in this issue. So I love that about y'all, and I agree with you. This is not just a 16-day thing. This is not just a Women's Month thing. Women die every day, and it's not just a woman. This is someone's mom, someone's daughter, someone's sisters. women are providers, women are leaders, and so it impacts more than just that circle. So I just want to double click on the power of social media. With social media playing such a crucial role, how have you guys effectively engaged with the publics and reaching up to 10 million people monthly? And can you give some very direct tips on how can people use social media to also advocate for gender-based violence and create awareness around this issue? What are the things that you think that others can learn from by using this tool?
I think number one, perceive social media as a tool and understand that it can be good and it can be evil. And I would start by saying use social media for good. Make sure you have a positive intention behind the things that you are sharing, the things that you are consuming, and the things that you want to personally see for yourself. I think we are so I think we've normalized ourselves to algorithms that are insinuated by others, by companies or by things you may click on now and then. When we forget that because these are our devices, we have the power to control what we see, control what we post, control what we say. Because if anything, it is our minds, our mouths, our opinions at the end of the day. And I think people underestimate simply having the intention to use social media positively. It's not about having a lot of followers. It's not about, I guess, yes, that is an amazing thing to have, but honestly, start by, the little that you have, you do have influence over the people in your life. So I think recognizing something like gender-based violence is, like you said, it's something that impacts the greater community, the greater globe, and so many different aspects. And I just want to add on to what you were saying now about it's someone's mother, someone's sister. I also want to say it's a human being. I think that it's so important that we recognize the fact that let's value humans. Let's value each other as human beings first and foremost before we get into the fact that you are somebody's mother, you're somebody's sister, you're somebody's relative or aunt, whatever the case may be. I think we are we're becoming people who are, I don't know, there's a human aspect that seems to deteriorate from my personal perspective. And I think simply recognizing that we are losing lives every day, every hour, we are losing lives, and I think creating awareness is really underestimated. Like, I think a lot of people have messaged me personally asking me, okay, I see what you're doing, I see what you're sharing on your status, but what is it going to do? Honestly, it's going to catch the eye of at least one person who goes through my status to say, oh, okay, this is what happened. And I think
Mm,
it starts there. Don't underestimate the power of sharing. I think you also mentioned in our virtual race, or the hashtag that we use, say her name. And I think the power in that is recognizing the value of that individual, that person mattered, that their lives, her life mattered, And I think getting to the place where we have, with 10 million views per month is unbelievable. I don't think that was what our founder had in mind. I don't think it's what she expected or anticipated. We are still shocked on a consistent basis, but I think it's because one, we're consistent. So I think be consistent in what you stand for and what you believe in, and don't be afraid to push your belief. I know some people may think like, I don't want to shove things down people's throats and stuff, and I don't know. I think it's recognizing the fact that that's how you can make use of your freedom of speech. Yes, we have
mm,
we have seen, especially through social media, how that can be abused. Like I mentioned earlier, social media can be a positive tool, but it can also be a very negative tool. It can be a very harming tool. We have trust me, we have we have seen the harm of it. But honestly, have a positive intention, be consistent, and be unapologetic about it. It's your platform after all. It's your mouth, and if you can honestly and truthfully and authentically recognize and take accountability to what you're saying, I think that's another thing. Taking accountability for the things that you believe in, the things that you share, and understanding that for it to be positive, is it positively impacting myself alone, or is it going to positively impact other people as well? And with something like gender-based violence, it's also recognizing that this is something that's not going away. This is something that requires everyone, not just the government, not just the survivor and their friends and the family. No, it's everyone. If we start recognizing that this is something we should all start taking as a responsibility, I know it's not fun. Like, it's not a fun thing to be talking about, but I think for me personally, I don't want to I no longer want to live in a world, like you said, where I'm sending my locations consistently, where I'm second guessing what I'm wearing because I'm going to a particular
Mm.
place, or not even allowing myself to do a particular activity because I know when I'm going to be harmed, or I'm not going to wear this dress because I'm asking for it. I'm not saying go crazy or whatever the case may be. Yes, be yourself, but I'm just saying that if we recognize how, especially as a woman, how your way of living, your livelihood has been limited consistently because of the normalization of gender-based violence. That's how you can, I guess, wire your thinking in terms of how you choose to present yourself on social media. But it's a very
Mm.
profound thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you touched on a lot of things, but I want to actually touch on some of the challenges, some of the harms of social media. Because in the world of misinformation, disinformation, and resistance towards your work, like how do you guys navigate the challenges like those when addressing GBV on social media? And how can an everyday person better support you and organizations like you, like yours, who are advocating for change?
Sure. I think that's such an important and very good question. Thank you so much for asking that. I think first and foremost, us personally, we haven't um, posted anything that hasn't like truthfully happened. Um, I think like just in the last question, I was speaking about accountability. In speaking of the tool that is social media, and I think living in times that we're in, a lot of people are angry. A lot of people may desire to go out of their way to like post their like their predator, put them on blast to make them go viral. And I think oftentimes, like, we have to tell the people in our DMs, unfortunately, that listen, we can't post the predators' pictures. We can't, say their names because unfortunately, for instance, like here in South Africa, legally we're not allowed to because that's going to implicate the victim. Now the perpetrator is going to get the upper hand, because the perpetrator can open up a defamation case, a case of defamation, and then maybe get a protection order, whatever the case may be, and like re-traumatize the victim altogether. So I think, yes, you're right. I think misinformation is like a very big issue, and I guess how people interpret certain things. But I remember having an interview with three men, and I just want to reiterate on what one of the men had said. And I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to make someone understand where we're coming from, and honestly, I don't think there's time for that. I think when I was having this interview or having this conversation with these men, I was speaking about, I make reference to in 2019 with the Uyinene story, and how it was the only time South Africa went at a standstill. And this guy's response was, we shouldn't have continued from there. And
Mm.
it was so impactful to me hearing that, particularly from a man,
Mm.
and his realization of that, that we need to start having that posture as a country, that we need to take accountability, recognize what is going on in this society of ours, and not to derail even further. But I think for us specifically, most of the stories they've come with evidence, and people have quite, like I said earlier, they send us DMs, they send us pictures. So I think us personally, like, there's nothing that we have posted that is not true, essentially, is not true. And I guess those who provoke it, or those who try to instill instill misinformation. We try to educate them, like in our DMs, try to educate them, like especially if like some hateful people are persistent. Some of them, we ignore, we don't entertain, we don't give them the platform because they're not deserving of it. But others, it's like, okay, let's just try and educate you a little bit. Yeah, so I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, look, I think that systems like patriarchy and misogyny, we have these bias and inherent beliefs, and we think that this is the only way. And
Yes.
to and I like the fact that you have a conversation with people, because strong communities talk to each other, and just having
Yes.
that discussion, someone might actually feel like, I feel seen, I feel understood, I feel like I can understand, I can stand in your shoe, and actually see where you're coming from. So I think that's a really great way of actually combating that issue. I want to jump on the amazing initiative that you guys started, which is I think the Run for Her campaign, where you guys mobilize thousands of people to participate. And these runs are more than just physical activities, right? Like it is quite a symbolic journey towards a safer, a more united a future that every step is a stand against gender-based violence. So can you tell me a little more on how the run had created a safer environment and built a sense of community? How's that campaign going?
Sure. I think it's so profound, and we're always so amazed and so humbled by, I guess, how many people participate in it. And I think the flexibility of it being a virtual race as well has also allowed a lot more people to participate in this race. As I mentioned in the very beginning, the reason behind what initially started Women for Change with the teenager who was murdered while she was running. And I think we recognized that things like protests, you can't really control people. They can become very violent. You can't really say that you can have control over certain groups of people or mobs or whatever. So we thought to ourselves that something like running, like a normal activity, is it, like you said, it should be a powerful thing, that it's not just about, yes, protests are important. I'm not undermining protests whatsoever. I think where we were coming from essentially was not only because, yes, the teenage girl was running in her case, but I think something like gender-based violence, we eliminate the simple things. You said it so beautifully in the very beginning, where you said safety to you is you just going to walk somewhere without needing to send your location, because so that people can make sure that you're safe and you're alive. And I think it's profound knowing that as a community we can all come together and just run, because that has become a luxury as a woman in this country. So it, like you said, it's bigger than just the physical, just being out there and running a couple of kilometers. But it's, you're running for a purpose, because you can run with someone in mind. You can run for a particular somebody who was murdered or killed or whatnot, in their honor. So that in itself is profound, because we're keeping the memory of the victim alive, or even a survivor alive. So it has so many different aspects of it. And I think it's only grown, it's only become more impactful, and now we're so thankful that, we can use the funds that people pay to participate, towards the people that we're helping. So it's honestly evolved, and it continues to evolve. And we're so thankful for it. Something that started with, I think, like I said in the beginning, with 3,000 participants who were there in the memorial walk, and it was the 4,000 people who joined the first race, and then it became virtual, and people do it consistently, and we're so thankful for it. And we hope that it I don't know, it provokes something in people that extends far beyond Women's Month, like, or like 16 days, or like something like running, like drill it into your head psychologically, that wait, this act that I'm doing is something that not everyone can do not anyone can do everywhere anymore, because of gender-based violence and femicide.
Yeah. I just want to share some of the comments that's been coming in. There's a lot of love that's being shown and a lot of stories being shared in the comments. I'm just going to share a few. Kyle said that social media is a powerful tool. We mobilized 100,000 women in 2018 to march against GBV using Facebook. So social media is really the ordinary person have never been so powerful because of social media, and we should really use this tool. And then we got Pei who said that we need to treat gender-based violence like we treated COVID-19.
Yeah.
Government and the country's justice system continue to show us that there's no political will towards addressing GBV. That's very true. And there's a very trigger warning story that's being shared. Apparently, there's 3 women security officers was guarding a government building in Durban, in KZN, and they were gang raped by 8 armed men in full view of their colleagues, and it just really showed that this is it's almost like the system ingrained it as a
Yes.
culture. We don't do,
Sure.
we don't say anything. It's a norm, as you say, and it can't be our norm. It can't be our
You
norm.
can't.
Yeah. And Women for Change, one of your colleagues said, we just want to walk free. Is that too much to ask? My God,
Exactly. Sure.
exactly. Um, Let me ask you this next. Let's actually talk about the strategies that not only curb, but actually obliterate GBV, because true change really demands more than just awareness, it demands action. So, from your perspective, over the years, the kind of effective strategies and insights that you learned to curb gender-based violence, how what are the things that if you are like the president, what would you do?
Mm.
What are the strategies that you will put in place? What is the government not doing enough? What do we need to do better on?
I think most of our conversation we've already touched on the power or the necessity of awareness, but I think education is very important. I think the power of education and implementing anti-GBV, I guess, education into our schooling systems from young ages. I think, like for instance, on our social media page, you'll see that we have a glossary, and we have been. It's been so humbling. I think a couple of teachers have DM'd us, and they've told us how they've used some of our content as just, I guess, information to teach their students, and it's so heartwarming and so humbling, because I think that's missing in our schools. Yeah, that's really something that is missing in our schools. There's no primary examples. Like now we're going to build these systems, as you spoke about, that are being normalized in our society, without educating one another, because now it's normal to keep quiet, to be a bystander, to just watch, as the very unfortunate and very devastating story that you just shared, the comment that you just read, that in front of the colleagues that can happen. I think education is very important. That when I said starting young, is I think it's important because we start establishing a new way in how we treat each other as human beings. I can give you examples of recent stories that blew my mind. I think it was three boys. They were between the ages of 10 to 13. They had raped, I think, three girls who were under the age of 10. So if we're seeing that our young kids are already becoming perpetrators themselves, it tells us that unfortunately our society is teaching them that this is a normalized behavior, a normalized way of living, that violence, abuse, that all of this is the answer. And I think by educating and implementing anti-GBV education into our schooling systems is so important. And I think beyond school, I think amongst our families, let's have these conversations. Let's educate one another. Let's not get offended. And I think, like you said, I think strong communities and communities that trust one another begins with a conversation. Let's sit as family members, as loved ones, as friends, and say, okay, what you did there was not cool. Let's call out horrible behavior. Let's be honest about these things. And I think it starts through education, educating ourselves of, oh, what did I do wrong? No, this is what you did. This is how this can make a person feel. I think another thing we underestimate is sponsors. We lack the monetary funds. We need to start investing and donating towards not just us as organizations, yes, us as organizations, but our social workers, our counselors, all of these people that are on the field actually helping these individuals. They need to be paid, our legal aids. I think it's just about investing money and allocating money to these places. Like I think our president has spoken about this gender-based violence fund. Personally, us as Women for Change, we have not received a cent. And I know that I speak on behalf of countless organizations that they have not received any incentive from our government or any private, maybe private sectors, but for us personally, neither have given us anything to help us financially. And unfortunately, things like this, money doesn't fall off trees. And things like runs and stuff, I think some people may wonder, where did our in-person runs go? Unfortunately, we can't really plan them anymore because it requires money. Those things are expensive. Those things don't pay themselves. Things require money. Our safe houses need money. We need to fund these places and build more safe homes for our victims and survivors. We need to make sure that they can fend for themselves. And I mean, sometimes the people that are in these safe houses, that means they have to hide away from their work or loved ones or whatnot. So what money are we giving them? What uh, basic needs or essentials, rather, what essentials can we give to them that isn't monetary? And that's nothing, because we need to give them something that they can sustain themselves with, because people fail to realize that we have so many issues. And I think a lot of homes that have abuse have things like financial abuse, where people are withheld of the financial freedom and stuff. So I think um, educating in our educating systems against gender-based violence and femicide, and also sponsorships. I think it's so important that we sponsor these organizations. We pay our social workers and stuff. We make sure that an adequate amount of money is allocated to these workers that are in these situations. I think it's so important. I think you also mentioned earlier on where besides our government being the way it is, we go to places like the police station trying to open up a case, and we're going to get re-traumatized. I think there's a lack of training as well. I hear it a lot in some organizations. They speak of sensitivity training. I think I think integrating the psychological aspect into our, our policing systems. Can we just treat victims better? I think it's important that we train and we rehabilitate also those who are predators, those who are convicted of things. Let's also rehabilitate them. Let's allocate money for that as well. So those are some of the initiatives that I think that could combat gender-based violence.
We really need a mindset shift in this country, and it's really, we need education. And it's, as you say, it's not just education. Social worker, teachers, nurses, like they're not being funded. They also take on the burden of supporting, listening, of basically helping those who come to them with so much trauma, and they themselves don't even get the support system for them to manage their mental health or even do the work that they need to do. Because we often hear that in hospitals there's always budget cuts and there's not enough this and that. It is upsetting to hear that that Cyril promised another promise towards organizations who are actually doing the work, and promised to do the to have a fund. A whole fund has been set up for organizations like yours, but not a cent went to your organization. That's just another example of the importance of electing people who actually cares about and cares and love their community.
Absolutely.
And so let me actually touch on mental health. What you and
Mm.
your team do isn't just admirable. It's really a testament to the resilience required to the pursuit of justice. Addressing
Mm.
gender-based violence is can be emotionally draining and taxing, I'm sure. I mean, me as I started at Rise Mzansi, at times I have to play the role of a social worker. There's so much nuance in being in this space, and you end up carrying the pain and emotions from this work. So I really want to find out, how do you and your team manage your mental health and well-being while working on such a challenging cause?
Yeah. I think this is a question that we ask ourselves sometimes, try to wrap our head around this reality that is mental health. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I just want to say I take my hats off to our founder, because she deals with majority of it, more than the rest of us as a team. She experiences the full brunt of everything that we deal with. And I think that you're absolutely right. It's emotionally taxing, it's psychologically taxing. It requires mental endurance. I think we are running. I think the way we've been wired as individuals, we're just empathetic people. We have empathy. I think what keeps us going is the fact that the impact that we can see we're having on our victims and survivors. When people, thank us for the work that we do and how we're helping them, and I think that keeps us alive. So irrespective of how exhausting it must be, because to see the images that we get, to read the long DMs that we get, because some people don't want us to share their stories. They simply just want to get it off their chest. Because a lot of people, they don't have the privilege of sharing it with another individual. And for a lot of people, like you said, we take on the hat of social worker, psychologist, counselor, everything. Um, and it's overwhelming, but we recognize the necessity of it. We wonder to ourselves, if we don't do it, who's going to do it? And I think we've taken up the responsibility, and I think in our own individual ways, because we are an organization that does not miss a day. We don't take a holiday, because we know that this pandemic doesn't take a holiday. We post every single day. But I think, for me, for instance, personally, the relationship I have with writing, my relationship with a pen and paper, or my fingers and my phone and my memo pad, it is one I cherish with my life. So I'll just, I guess, through poetry, that's how essentially I found my voice, through activism, and I found the activism spaces. When I started writing poetry, I released my anger, my frustration, my pain, through poetry. So I'm able to write things down. I'm able to channel it through music, through singing. I'm able to do it through speaking, hosting these conversations and stuff. And I was speaking to my founder as well, and we both spoke about how there's a healing aspect of nature. We're outside whenever, for instance, I'll see her go on holiday or something. I'm so happy, because the work she does, the work, I know the work we all do, but I take my hats off to her. I'm always so happy when I see her somewhere, although she'll still be working. We're still talking about things that are women for change, but just to know that there's a little bit of release, there's a little bit of a break, just stepping outside. Although this is something that we consume on a daily basis, some activists have made this their lives, like the founder. This is it. Like for me, I wear many hats, even as a student. But so I can kind of focus on being a student and then, come back to this. But it's also not like we're taking a break at any point, especially our organization. But I think in our own ways, we understand individually what keeps us alive, what keeps us sane. And I think it's important to take care of your mental health, know what makes you feel better, know what makes you feel whole, know what invites peace around you. Because looking at our country, there are many spaces where you're going to have to learn to create your own peace in the midst of chaos. I mean, I like you mentioned how like our hospitals are, there's budget cuts there, but we don't see everybody quitting because unfortunately, looking at our economy, you don't have the strongest rand and stuff. You don't have the luxury to just quit and leave. But I am so inspired and humbled by those who hold on because of the passion, the why I'm doing this. Who hold on to the fact that, okay, this is not a nice environment. It's overwhelming here. This is a lot. This is much. But let me breathe and let me do the work that I've actively decided to do. But I also want to say to everyone that wants to embark on doing the work that we do and to just share awareness. Yes, it is going to get overwhelming. Oh, trust me, it's going to get overwhelming. It may trigger you from time to time. You can't prepare for what emotions you're going to feel. What anger is going to trigger you, what frustration is going to trigger you. You never know, but I think it's important that for me, sometimes it's as simple as breathing. It's as simple as breathing. I just, there's breathing techniques that I do to just maintain my anxiety because some anxiety is something I also struggle with, amongst many other things mentally. But I think I breathe because I know that unfortunately therapy is not accessible to everyone. Not everybody has the luxury of um, seeing a therapist or whatnot. I know in my case, I luckily, school wise, I could see one now and then, but I know that I can just, there are certain things I do personally for myself. Like I said, I write, be it poetry or be it just writing in general, like a journal entry or whatever the case may be. Like me and my founder was speaking about, just walking outside, being in nature and embarking on the healing powers of nature. I think we have just we are trying our best to prioritize the well-being of self because we know that if we burn out, we know who we're letting down. So I think really prioritize yourself and your mental health. We don't have a specific answer, if I'm being honest. We don't know. We don't know. We're just holding on to the impact that we have on other people, and it's keeping us going.
Yeah, that that is so inspiring, and I definitely, as you were speaking, I'm just thinking about our organization and how we started and how we're all taking a lot on our shoulders, and politics never stops. And so we've been working like all Monday to Sunday because there's issues every single day and people that we need to go to. And so I like the fact that you shared so many ways of actually regulating ourselves, from breathing to stepping outside and being in nature to perhaps even like having a conversation with a colleague and friend and being each other's listeners.
Mm,
And I just want to say, give your founder a shout out. I think she have really created a culture that really help you and your team work really well with each other and create a safe space where you can continue to be your full self, and commit to do the work. I think I've heard you said that she's at a surprise holiday, and it just
yes.
shows me that if it's not a surprise, she will never take the holiday. That's the kind of
Mm,
person she is. So I'm glad that she's
yes.
taking the rest and break that she so much deserve. So I just want to say, your organization is saying they love you. I just want to say thank you so much, to for coming on, Bulewa, and everyone who tuned in. We really appreciate your time. And I just want to end off by saying that let's not just be observers. Let's be participate in our democracy, because democracy means that we have to get involved. And creating a more inclusive and equitable world, it's a responsibility that we all have to carry. So let's rise for women, children, and the LGBTQAI plus community. Any last word, Bulelwa? Oh, wait, let me end up by saying, where can people find you? How can people get involved?
Okay, so we are on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter or X, and TikTok as well. So it's Women for Change SA. Yeah, it's Women for Change SA on all of the accounts. And then we also have a website. I think it's www.womenforchange.co.za. Yes. And I think we have, if you guys want to volunteer, we have a volunteer sheet where you guys can tell us, what you guys specialize in, what are your skills, and then we can allocate where you guys can help us out, because help is, I think people assume that we are this huge team. People won't believe that you can count our team on one hand. you know so so I think help and volunteering would be so appreciated. Yeah, and I think I mentioned all of our handles, and I think me personally, I think I have a public account. You can find me on at underscore Adonis dot Lelwa, because I know that our DMs get flooded, guys. So sometimes people DM me personally, about certain situations or certain problems. So I have availed my own personal account because I understand how packed our organization's DMs are. So yeah, that's where you can find us.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, get involved. Women for Change have really rise and step up and became the platform where survivors can come to that they can come to you guys directly, and where you can point them to the right direction and how they can find help and resources. So thank you so much for getting on this platform and sharing your insight and experiences with us. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great evening and take care of yourself. Goodbye.
Thank you, guys.